note apologies from Cherie Povey. And if there are no further apologies, you know, have a mover, please, and a seconder.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Georgina, who was the mover.
Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Moved by Virginia, seconded by Georgina, that we accept the apologies of Cherie Povey. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, any abstentions? That's carried. So, just a call for any new or updated declarations of interest or potential conflicts. Please declare those matters as they arise. And just a reminder to all the Joint Committee members that there is a need to declare to the Kaipara Māori Kura staff any new or expected future applications for KMR funding from related parties. This includes any entities for which the Joint Committee members act in a governance capacity. So, commencing with our hui and the accompanying agenda. First matter up is the confirmation of minutes, and that's on page 4 of the agenda. And pass it over to Sophie to lead us through that, please. Any matters that need to be raised with the committee members, Sophie?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise I was on mute. No, this is just standard confirmation.
This is as the report writer. If there are any matters from your perspective that need to be put in front of the Joint Committee members.
No, sorry, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
I can.
No,
yeah.
Just standard confirmation of our hui held online on Monday the 26th.
Okay, all right. Well, because the motion actually reads to confirm the minutes of the Joint Committee meeting dated 30th of October and to note the minutes of the Joint Committee dated 27th of November. That's why I'm handing it over to clarify what is it that we're confirming.
Sorry, I'm not. I think I must be seeing a different copy than you. I'm looking at the version that Ben's sharing here, which is confirmation of minutes February, and that serves to receive and note the minutes of the meeting held in February 2024.
All right. Well, my apologies. I'm reading off the chair's run sheet here. That's not what it says on my paper.
Oh gosh, sorry. Let me double check that for you. But yeah, for now, serves to receive and note the minutes of the meeting held in February 24. And I'm going to bring this up.
I'm happy to move that.
Yeah.
I can second that as well. I think what Tame's been given is the actual content of those minutes from the 26th of Feb.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I've...
Yes, it may be that the run sheet didn't save and upload. It was a late edition this morning for Tame, so our apologies for that. We do apologise, Tame, for the run sheet not being up to date. Kia ora.
That's fine. That's all good. So can we then refer the motion that it is to receive the minutes of the meeting held February 26th, 2024. To confirm, sorry, Amy, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held February the 26th, 2024. And Amy McDonald moves in that direction. Do you have a seconder?
Aye. Kia ora.
Jane Sherrard. Any further discussion?
Just kia ora through the chair, just going through what I received as well, and you're right, it did say the October and November 2023, but the actual minutes that are on is the actual February minutes, so I think it's just the cover sheet type thing.
Okay, all right, so we've clarified that we are confirming the minutes of the meeting held February the 26th, 2024. Moved by Amy McDonald, seconded by Jane Sherrod. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye,
against?
kia ora.
Anybody
Aye.
against? Any abstentions? We'll declare those carried. And moving to the work program, item 5.1, the Joint Committee Action Tracker. And the motion is to receive the Joint Committee Action Tracker. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, can we have a mover, please, to receive the Joint Committee Action Tracker?
Jack, I'm happy to move.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Georgina. So it's been moved and seconded to receive the Joint Committee Action Tracker. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Those against? Any abstentions? That's carried. And then the Joint Committee Forward Work Plan, item 5.2, a further motion to receive that JC Forward Work Plan. Do we have a mover, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to move,
Yeah.
Tommy.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Georgina.
I can second.
Thank you. Seconded.
Michelle, please.
Michelle, thank you. Any further discussion? I'll put the motion to receive the Joint Committee Forward
Tommy,
Work Plan.
sorry,
Yep.
excuse me, Tommy, before you put it, I'd just like to, seeing you asked for discussion, I'd like to see more field trips. I think our next one's not till September. I'm just wondering if it's possible for any kind of field trip before then, or if there's any field trips organised by other bodies in the catchment that we can be alerted about, that are funded by or co-funded by us, that we can attend. I'm really keen to see results on the ground. You know, we see I see a little bit up this way, but I don't see much down on the southern end of it. So really keen to see how things are going. We're getting fantastic reports back. I see Deputy Mayor Phil Hulse from Whangarei said that KMR got a glowing endorsement at the last national meeting he was at. I can't remember the actual
So what are we adjusting?
National
Yeah.
Freshwater Conference. Yes, we were down in
Thank you.
Wellington. Yeah.
and he
yeah.
came back with glowing praise. So I thought, well, gee, I'd like to catch up with this. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
No,
That's all
no
I've got to say.
problems. Tammy, through the chair, may I just comment on the field trip? But thank you for that feedback around our getting out there and being recognised. We'll do more on that next month when we come back in Hui. The field trips, that's a really important point. We are working with and through others around a really large catchment, as you know, and so we have had a number of field trips organised by others that unfortunately have had to be cancelled for very valid reasons. Our intent is to continue to issue field trip invitations to all of the Joint Committee members as they arrive. I think we've had one recently go out. Those who can make it from the Joint Committee would be very welcome to do so. And if you haven't already received an invitation, there is one for King's Coronation planting coming up, to which that's in the Northern region. There is a lot of activity coming up in the Auckland region as well, including some of the community planting events. So there will be a constant stream of invitations. We're very aware of the impost on time and travel that provides. And so we have two formal KMR hosted field trips here on the indicative forward work plan that you can see, but there will be many more opportunities for Joint Committee members to see the very good work led by landowners, led by community groups, led by iwi and hapu in the catchment, right around the catchment. And it is our hope and expectation that those who are with enough notice can attend. Unfortunately, a lot of those events are on the weekend, so we're also very aware that there are whānau and other commitments that may mean it's not helpful and not possible for people to attend. But yep, generally we are very keen to get you out there to see the good work that's going on with our support. So thank you for that kind feedback around the Freshwater Conference, and there's a lot more good stuff going on that you'll hear more about next month. Kia ora wā.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Jack. Good point. and it is a add to that, I think, Justine, some kind of information to the Joint Committee members on that, just remind the Joint Committee members really to have a look at the update or the post event profiling of the Balanced Farm Environmental Awards held in Northland and across Northland and Auckland. Again, one of those sort of indicators of just how far and what kind of reach the KMR program is having in land use decision making in 2024. And I guess a number of these issues are take a little bit of time to materialize and to start to reveal themselves, but pretty uplifting when someone else is doing the ranting and raving about the positive aspects of the program. And yeah, a credit to Mauri Kura and all those involved in that kind of promotion that gets the KMR program inside the profile of what is seemingly a strong indicator of positive things happening in the environmental space. Kia ora. So, are we in the position to put the motion?
There's some hands up, Tami, on the...
Sorry.
Jane and John.
Kia ora. Kia ora through the chair. Just to tautoko what Tami had just said, but also noting that Jack had made a comment around the southern Kaipere end. So with our last site visit that we did at Kiwitahi, from the Rewiti one, that was a good one, and I'm aware that we've got a couple of other smaller visits, so they aren't actually on the tracker here, the field trips, but they're ones that have been done with direct approach. And so if I'm able to go and have a look, being on the Kaipara River one, and another one going out behind Kaipariki, behind in Parakai, and that one there is looking at the sediment that's underneath the bridge and going along through to the harbour, to the moana. So yeah, when Willie sort of gets, and we have those types of discussions, we'll be sort of ramping up quite fast, I would understand. So kia ora.
Jane, if I might, through the chair, just make one comment. I think it may be timely then for us, the Maurikura, to provide indicative dates. Obviously, things can change to the Joint Committee on a regular basis of things that may be coming up or are on the agenda, just to provide transparency of those events, as long as people understand that they're subject to change and that we may not have everyone able to attend. So we will make sure that there is a section of our Potataki report every time we meet, and perhaps intercessionally to provide an update to the Joint Committee members of planned or possible third-party hosted events. And it will be a live list, as long as everyone understands when they receive it, that's the basis. If you're interested in attending any of those events, then we can provide more specific updates to individuals. I think that would be perhaps a more, as we're expanding our field trips quite significantly now, and that just allows a bit of transparency for yourselves as governors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John Blackwell.
Just a comment to back up Jack was really seeing is believing, and I wondered whether we had a site that we could have monitored in the future a year before we planted, so that then we can measure the silt and what the effects is as the work we've done would probably take years to actually make a real make a difference. But if it's monitored before we're there, a year before, are we ever doing anything like that? Thank you.
Kia ora, John. Look, great question, if I may respond through the chair. So right now, regional councils and in Auckland, the Unitary Authority are accountable for sediment monitoring as well as wider environmental monitoring. KMR does not have a mandate for that work. However, we have got live discussions with both councils and in fact with third-party co-funders, one of which has recently been published around more bespoke and quite high resolution monitoring to answer that very question. As you will be aware, sediment is a decadal contaminant, which means it takes a long time for us to be able to demonstrate scientifically that a particular action somewhere has made a specific difference. However, I think the engagement that you're proposing, John, to really highlight the good practice and what it can achieve. We have got some conversations in train around how to leverage, for example, with Living Water, the Fonterra Dock partnership. Dairy NZ is interested in potentially working with us, and we have some very high-tech technology and equipment provided by Spark. Thank you, Spark, and Fathom, which is a Hamilton-based local R&D company, to help us. And that monitoring probe will be launched with Auckland Council and Hapu's support, hopefully in the next month or so. So we are working in that space, and we're also very keen to hear from others who may not be talking to us yet about how we might be able to demonstrate exactly that result from small projects in train. So yeah, do come and talk to us. We're very keen to support both councils in understanding the results from KMR. Kia ora.
I was thinking on a smaller scale, as this property is near Tami, Tengwahini Valley. It's a farm that has is contained by its own catchment. So, and Councillor Jack Craw and Amy McDonald have been to it as well. And they are, going to do some planting this year. So we're probably too late. But it would have been the ideal situation where you had only this farm's catchment, so it's not infected by any other runoff, and that it would demonstrate over time what work was done and how effective it was. So it's just, we might have another of these farms coming up that won't be planted for a few years and monitored, but are monitored in a small way, not huge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments about site visits and how we try and capture the direction that it's setting. But I just want to make a little point here. I'm aware of the work that's been going on in places like the Tangawahine Valley, Justine through Maurikura and particularly Duncan, Curvell, and trying to line up with the Bishop of sheep and beef, or beef and lamb, James Parsons, and what they're trying to achieve there. I guess the driver is that the program was predicated on what science was telling us about sediment loadings in the catchment. And then I think the element we are all raising now is, so how is that faring? And I know these are the whole digital tools, monitoring, measuring equipment that's under development. But I think the point that's coming through is, are there any aspects that we can sort of bring down to the land level or to the ground level that'll give the local people some indicator of progress? And Tim Eaves made a very good point at a local meeting on Saturday in Parako and around the Mangakahi River catchment, and it was neighbours talking to neighbours about impact, about effects, about progress towards a sort of reduction in sediment. I think a number of people are expecting, native plants to just drop out of the sky and start flourishing where kaikuia used to grow, or where the various invasive weeds used to grow. I think that's the level of, and that's a dimension that will line up quite well with the basis upon which the program was started, and that sediment needs to be reduced. And the more localized we can get that, the more we can focus that in towards the headwaters of these catchments, I think the stronger the program would be in the long run. But thank you for all that input. And are there any further points to be made about the indicative forward work plan for 2024? If not, sorry.
Just picking up on your comments there about how to monitor this with the community and like seeing the results of it. I know when we did some other stuff through school with the water monitoring, and obviously talking with Earl about, you know, different biodiversity coming back onto the farm drains and things like that. So I wonder if the reach to community might be quite well done through the schools, and getting them into that water monitoring program, which some of them do already anyway, but feeding that information through that way could be a potential win. Yeah.
Okay. No, that is precisely the point. Is that when we talk about, you know, it's just like shifting the emphasis from dairy, sheep and beef, forestry, horticulture, and lifestylers. If we talk about land use and the decision making around using that land, then we don't have to divide it by 5 and have 5 different versions of what's required. So the message that goes to the schools should be the same that goes to the landowners, should be the same that goes to the community. And the challenge in places like the headwaters of the Mangaka here, you've got one school that's a long way from the headwaters, and it's, you know, the landholders around the headwaters send their children off to boarding school. They are that isolated from where schools used to operate, no longer there. So enviro schools halfway down the catchment, yeah, great for the immediate locality, but do very little for the headwaters. And places like the James Parsons estate in the Tongawaine Valley are a long way from the Tongawaine Valley School.
Fair enough, yeah.
And so the messaging, I think, is one that includes them, but should not overemphasize enviro schools. There's enough advocates of enviro schools running around out there, but I think tailor making this to align with the science told us sediment loads coming down from the headwaters of the catchments. Our response to that is to say, over the past 4 years, this is the pattern, these are the measures, and here are the indicators that give us that detail. Anyway, any further discussions? Otherwise, we'd like to put that motion. Okay, so I've forgotten who moved it. I know Michelle seconded.
So it was moved by Georgina and seconded by Michelle.
Okay, moved by Georgina, seconded by Michelle, that we receive the indicative forward work plan for 2024. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Tautoko.
Any objections? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Moving to the next item, which is the hang on.
What are the two people?
Can I just remind everybody that everything in this next section will be taken as read, and on that note, sort of move to agenda item 6.1 on page 14, the Kōrero Tukuiho update, and hand over to William Wright for introductory comments. Tēnā koe, William.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Before you start, Tammy, I just need to declare my conflict of interest because I sit on the committee, sit on this group. Goodbye. Thank you.
Kia ora Tami, and kia ora koutou to all members of the Joint Committee. Look, it's a privilege to be able to present to you the on behalf of the Kōrero Tuku Iho reference group a number of papers, and as Tami have said, we take it, myself and Celia take it as being read. There are a number of points and recommendations we'd like to place in front of the committee, and to cover the all aspects of the paperwork and stuff like that. We do have a presentation for the for you members. So with that, I'll go straight in and pass this directly to Celia, our project manager for Kōrero Tuku Iho project. Thanks, Celia.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Yeah. So I'm Celia. I think I've met most of you in previous hui, so for sake of time, I'll just get into it. So in April 2023, this committee endorsed the establishment of Kōrero Tuku Iho project, the reference rōpū, in the direction to implement kaitiaki in action through whakatauira. Unfortunately, we had some setbacks last year, which impacted our ability to finalise some key elements and project planning, and we have now remedied that. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the progress of Kōrero Tuku Iho and seek approval, as Willie said, of some key elements, being the terms of reference for the reference rōpū, the draft work plan, and the whakatauira budget allocation for the next financial year, the appointment of the chair of the reference rōpū, current membership of the reference rōpū, and the terms of reference for the whakatauira process, and the proposed Lake Pātaka Kai whakatauira and its indicative budget, along with the work program and overall project budget. So the key points that I'll cover off are just around the reference rōpū structure, whakatauira, work program, and Poto Lakes. Kōrero Tuku Iho, as you're aware, is the cultural dimension of kaipara moana remediation, delivering one of its two foundations by enabling tangata whenua contribution to improving the health, wellbeing and mauri of kaipara moana. The role of Kōrero Tuku Iho reference rōpū is to oversee the project and programs designed to yield the contribution of tangata whenua communities of the kaipara moana in line with the KMR outcomes. The membership on the reference rōpū is a maximum of 11, and it is important that there is representation from across the whole of the catchment of the kaipara moana. Currently, we have 9 members that we're seeking approval for today, with spaces for 2 more. The reference rōpū is currently in the process of trying to fill those gaps with someone from the Hōtio Kaipara subcatchments and also someone from the Wairua Mangakahia subcatchments. It was important that the reference rōpū clearly understood their role as an advisory body, and we feel that we've captured that through the terms of reference that we've put forward today. At the reference rōpū hui in February, the rōpū proposed Willie Wright as the chair of the rōpū, and we're seeking approval of him along with the terms of reference today. So next slide. So this next slide just once again reiterates the goal of the rōpū, which is to yield the contribution of tangata whenua communities, which we plan on doing through the whakatauira and our lessons learned. So next slide. To make it clear, it was important for the reference rōpū that there was a clear understanding that it was just an advisory body and how the different relationships sat between the different groups within that makeup. So the decision-making body, we've included the structure within the terms of reference so that everyone is clear on where the decision-making sits, which is with this joint committee, with you as the joint committee. Okay, so the method this method around the whakatauira was aimed towards the development of strengthened kaitiakitanga practices and philosophy across the catchment of the kaipara moana, utilising place-based whakatauira and tangata whenua communities to undertake action-orientated kaitiakitanga projects, where the goal is to restore the health, wellbeing and mauri of the kaipara moana through a range of cultural actions and incorporate the building of cultural competency through history, learning, waiata creation, ceremonial applications as such. By embracing this integrated approach, the tangata whenua communities will be better equipped to sustain their cultural practices and traditions while contributing to the reduction of sediment in the kaipara moana. Okay, next slide. So our work program for the next financial year focuses on 3 key areas. The primary objectives, we're breaking those 3 key areas into objectives, communications, and operations. Oops. And I can see that I've got quite a typo error in the presentation that you have before you. The bottom one shouldn't say kōrero tuku iho operations, it should actually say whakatauira. So yeah, so focusing on achieving, confirming our chairperson at the operational level for the reference rōpū, achieving full membership and continuing to work as a rōpū. In the communications, we'll be creating an implementation plan to disseminate kōrero tuku iho to the stakeholders and communities within KMR, and making sure that that communication plan aligns with the overarching kōrero KMR communications programs. And then the third one is where the bulk of the project is sitting, and that will be with the whakatauira. So our goal with that is to highlight or identify 3 whakatauira that we'd like to work with, but make sure that we have at least two of those whakatauira up and running in the next financial year, which is 2024-25. Okay, next slide. So now that and this is now getting into our first whakatauira that we're hoping with your approval today that we can get moving on. So in attachment 3 is the proposal outline for Poto. The proposal's central concept is pātaka kai, which serves as a guiding vision for elevating the mauri of Poto lakes and the associated wetlands. The proposal aims to create a long-lasting and repeatable method that can contribute to the overall mauri of the kaipara moana and lay the groundwork for reducing sedimentation over time. The proposals to our Māori foundation and incorporation of kaitiaki principles ensures that the cultural values and traditional practices of the mana whenua are at the forefront of the restoration efforts. There are 5 main lakes and the associated wetlands that this proposal will focus on. And those 5 lakes are listed there. And the activities that they'll be working will focus predominantly on wānanga and kaitiakitanga, which will be the applied application. Okay, next slide. And this is the indicative budget for the 2024-25 financial year. As you can see, majority of that budget is taken up with case studies. And so that is my last slide, while there are others, which is the recommendation slide. So it just highlights what the recommendations are. And we have a series of recommendations for you today. Yeah, so we are recommending, yeah, I'm not sure if I need to go through these, Tame, or if you will do it.
I want to invite comment before we go through those recommendations.
Perfect.
People have read it.
Yeah.
So
happy to take
thank
questions.
you very much. If there are no further points from the presentations, invite the Joint Committee to raise any questions or invite comment. Kia ora.
That's a good question. Jake?
Kia ora tātou. If we're talking about the entire project, I really support the Dune Lake program. I'm probably preaching to the choir, but those lakes are unbelievably precious. And actually almost every one of them is unique in some way. So that's very, very commendable. Look, the only comment I have is that in these current political climate, governments are always looking at ways to cut back the commitments, and I think we need to make sure that whatever we do is integrated with the wider, is demonstrated to be fully integrated with the wider kaupapa of protecting the sedimentation, well, preventing sedimentation of the harbour, and that particular first project would only obliquely apply to that. So what I think I'd like to see, well, just a suggestion that I'd like us to discuss, is the terms of reference for the Tuku Eco project have a rider or another dot point. I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but in project Tuku Eco terms of reference 2.1 objectives, that we make sure that the objectives include an integration with the wider objectives of KMR itself. So if you haven't, when you have a look at 2.1, it says objectives, which is on page 23. Objectives of the project include, and I think they're fine, but I would have put perhaps a project include either a dot point saying working within the overall objectives of the KMR, or put that in the preamble before you get to the dot points, because it's just a question of actually us covering our own collective asses, really, to make sure that nobody comes back and says, well, you're starting to spend money on elegant plans that aren't really central to the overall kaupapa of what the government's funded. It's just a question of boxing clever, I guess. And I suppose the wider question is the are the terms of reference still open for adaptation? Thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. You move to Michelle, and then John Blackwell.
Oh, hey, sorry. Yeah, just following a little bit on from that. In the role part of the documents, so page 22, I can sort of sense by reading the rest of it, there was, value in what people are currently doing out there and what Hapa and that are doing. So I'm wondering if the first two paragraphs on the role description sort of offer enough flexibility to be inclusive of groups who are already working in a way which align with the goals. Because it sounds a little bit like this reference group is going to come in and be like the overall kind of guide to how it should be done, but there could be, I don't know if the wording of that sort of acknowledges that there could be things already happening out there that could be incorporated in a line. So if we could be a little bit more flexible with that. So basically that will also take on a supporting role. I know that this mentioned further down into the document, but I think it could be elevated, that importance of that could be elevated to the beginning of the intro there.
Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Kia ora, John.
Yeah, just a few words. Thanks, Tammy. I was on this catchment committee probably 6 years ago with the Pātira Lakes, and I don't farm there. I farm across the river from it, so it's a bit controversial that they put me on there. There's a lot of work done, and it's very complicated with how the water actually gets into those lakes. It's not just runoff. I'm hoping you'll take don't have to reinvent the wheel completely and use all the information that was gathered at that point. It suddenly seemed to have stopped, but they were considered to be a great treasure, as Jack Craw mentioned, and a lot of them are in pine tree plantations where the lake levels have probably deteriorated with the growth of the pines, and there are some in sheep farms, some are beef farms, and the water quality of those lakes doesn't seem to relate to the farming operations around them. So they're a little bit mystical about what happens with these lakes. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, John. Are there any further comments from joint committee members? Oh, Michelle? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong.
Sorry, I forgot one other comment that I had. It was in regards to the meeting fees and things. And we kind of have the similar thing with our board of trustees, where there's a set fee per meeting. But what we actually do is also note down, this is by the school I'm talking about, we note down our hours that we've spent on it. And I'm just looking at that there, at the fee structure there, and it's very vague as to what it would sort of cover or how much work would be done at each meeting. So I'm wondering if there's a way of, I guess, putting some kind of mechanism in there to say there's an expectation of a certain amount of work for that value. Whether or not it would be based on hours, like a rough kind of guide, I don't know. But there could be some inequities in there for different members. Like different members might take on different responsibilities and things, and there might be some inequities with the fact that there isn't too much guidance there as to the expectations.
Thank you, Michelle. Amy McDonald.
Kia ora, Tane, thank you. Kia ora, Celia, Willie, thank you very much. I know a lot of work's gone in to get us to this point, so I appreciate that. And it's great to have that connection. I know, Virginia, you mentioned it was it puts you in a conflicted position, but it's also really great to have that connection with you sitting on the rōpū. So thank you also for your mahi in that space. Just a few questions from me related to just what Michelle was asking around the terms of reference and the remuneration for meetings. I just wanted to check with Justine, is what is proposed in this terms of reference consistent with our KMR policy? Because I know it's different from the NRC policy, so just double checking we're being consistent, and I'm seeing nods.
Yes, sorry, I've got a bit of background noise here, but yes, it's consistent with the KMR policy and remuneration for the joint committee. We will double check that for you. And I'm also I wanted to talk Michelle's comments around making sure that we tighten up and have some clarity there around how that's going to work, where there are other functions through the rōpū. So we'll do a little bit of work with that with the project team ahead of things being finalised for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And similar to Jack's comment, love those lakes and have had the privilege of working in them a long time ago, and they are just absolutely beautiful ecosystems. And I guess, yeah, just keen for us to be able to tell the story of this mahi, particularly because it's the first one as well that will be actioned on the ground, just that connection to the sedimentation, the kaipara. While there are hydrological connections, and so just encouraging you, I guess, to be ready to reinforce how we connect those ecosystems to the kaipara more broadly, but can definitely understand the connection from a human and environment perspective. You know, there's so many parallels between what you'll do in those environments to everywhere else in the catchment. So I can see it. Just want you to be really clear about it so that we're strong. In terms of the communications, kia ora, just was going to support you to work closely with the Maurikura. I think there's some really good synergies there, and it could help the Maurikura with their reach into our communities as well. So encourage, I guess, maybe there's some efficiency we can gain if you guys are working closely, and I think it would be good for both. So rather than sort of doing things in parallel wherever possible. Let's link up. And then just coming to the work program, I think for me as a governor, when kind of giving support to, being asked to give support to a piece of work that has this level of investment, I would usually prefer to see a little bit more in terms of what the outputs would be. I can understand the inputs, and I do get it that this is work that requires a lot of time, because it's about spending time with people, building relationships, listening and growing the work with the community, time on marae, time out in the field. But yeah, I would appreciate a little bit more flesh in the work plan. So I guess maybe putting that back to you, Justine, as a bit of a, knowing that this still comes under the Maurikuta umbrella, just how do we kind of align the mihi so that we have that similar level of visibility, knowing that it is different work though. So I guess wanting to support us to work in the way that's going to work for our communities, but just also aligning it with how we work as a Maurikuta. But overall, really supported, and I'm supportive, and I'm excited about you guys getting into this next phase, because it's been a long time germinating, and this next phase will be where people can really start to see the benefit of the work you guys have been doing. So thank you, and look forward to hearing more from you soon. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Amy.
Kia ora, Amy. Tēnā koe, Jane.
Kia ora koutou through the chair. Just really excited around the kaupapa. I had, so it's just a couple of points because Amy's covered some as well as Michelle has. So I had just wanted to sort of say, in the terms of reference, if there's the outcomes, and I think Amy was just referring to that, the outcomes in each of those sections, because there's one, there's one of, where is it, attributes, capabilities. So if there's looking at attributes and capabilities of what whānau within the ropu can bring to the picture, and I'm thinking along the lines of future-proofing the project. And I've got a comment in the meeting chat, because if we don't future-proof the comment, make it alignment to the objectives of with KMR through the Maurikuta as well, not wanting anybody to sort of like point, what's a nice way to saying this? Point the finger to say that's a totally unnecessary project there. So I think we raised it, and we had some discussion around it last year, because I think the mihi that you're presenting, Celia and Willie, is just awesome, and I totally agree with the first case study being the lakes, the dune lakes. So does that it's just a it's just a little bit of a well, is it a concern? No, not really. It's just reading the room, I suppose, or in this case, reading the beehive.
Yeah, kia ora, Jane. Thank you. And Justine.
Oh, Aroa mai, before I go, I had I'm just searching on my notes, but Cherie and or Tumanako were going to be on the ropu, as far as I recall. But I'm just going to check my notes. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Jane.
I just felt, if through the chair, if I may, just wanting to thank our governors for their very clear pieces of feedback on terms of reference, the whakatauira terms of reference or criteria, and just tightening up on a few matters, including in respect of the budget and the annual work planning process. So the Maurikuta will stand ready to support the Korotuku project team to get things a little tidier sorry, apologies, I've got bad background noise. To get the terms of reference sorted out. So we will work with the project team to get something in place, if we can do some approval in principle, subject to some minor tweaks, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora, tātou. Just to round off a couple of points on what has already been raised on the kōrero tuku iho foundational strategy. And this is really, some reference has been made to it, but I go back to the choices made in framing this up with the Crown. And that was to address the part that Uri play in the proposal to begin and to initiate these remediation measures. And so I must admit I haven't read the last iteration, but I want to point out the fact that throughout the documents that have formalised the agreement with the Crown and with local government, we have used uri of the kaipara, or kaipara uri. And I now see it's been superseded by the more generic term tangata whenua. And there's a very specific reason for choosing uri of the kaipara, because we can go right back to Mahu ki te rangi and include all of the uri of manu manu and all of the uri of rongomai.
Yeah,
So that's the basis of it. Now, I don't want to have a debate with David Seymour or any of his ilk about justifying that. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as the uri of the kaipara that I know, we have got that agreement with the Crown. And I just sort of, so my question is, what alignment is there between the tangata whenua component of what's been said here to the term adopted in the formal agreements with the Crown, kaipara uri? So that's my question. And the next and final point is this. I think in terms of following the pattern where we have always promoted the notion of engaging with the landowners on the decision making over their land use practices. So in order to bring that towards a project or bring that towards a sediment reduction plan, we've come up with a process that says we need to register an expression of interest from the landowners. And then following that, a visit is made and some kind of draft sediment reduction plan is put together, utilising the format and the training that have gone into field advisors. So when you look at that Lakes project, and I follow the thinking that John Blackwell has promoted here, there's been a lot of information collated on the value. Willie?
Yep.
We remember the time we went to look for those Waratah standards that had been hammered into the ground to try and retrace the steps of those places of significance. So that's in the same vein, Widamu. It's not,
I know, it's just,
you know, because what we're trying to do here is to elevate the significance of sediment reduction, because that's the focus of, you know, KMR. And to enable us to do that, we need to keep the alignment with everything and the steps that we've taken across the whole catchment. And that has been initiated, or is generally initiated, with an expression of interest, followed up with a visit by field advisors, and, you know, so the discussions begin with the landowners. And I think that the opportunity within this kōrero tuku iho initiative is to capture whatever the landowners of those entities that are scattered throughout the Poto area. And you know, with that, I think I think that's where the I think it was Amy that talked about, you know, outcomes and outputs of the project, and if we can align that to sort of say there's a cell here of this entity, they farm and they have land use options in dairy, sheep and beef, and forestry, and then we can categorically align the sediment reduction plan to the property and the overall Koutou Lakes project. I think that's the kind of detail that I'm sure Minister Hoggard and officials from Ilka's had to shoot off, but officials from Ministry for the Environment would buy into. And I wanted to leave it at that. I'm not trying to sort of generate any answers now, because I think it comes back to the point that's already been made. Can we refine? Because I think the general thrust is to support this in principle, but we just need to align a more, you know, a clearer link and connection with how we are delivering the program in 2024. Because as we go through and leading up to the budget, I think we need to be extra cautious about the outcome of the visit proposed with Minister Hoggard. You can believe you me, whatever outcome results from that visit will be reflected in budgetary announcements for 2024. And I think that this current climate is one where we need to just keep that in mind. And I think Justine has made the point about keeping the alignment there. I was sharing with Justine earlier, William and Celia. We had the pleasure of hosting Tim Eves at a Mangakahia base, you know, connectivity plan. Celia, you remember that in 2021? Well, we socialised it to the next level, just at the tip, at the verge of what this proposal is putting. And boy, oh boy, I knew the name, but I couldn't put a role to it until someone said, oh, he used to be a reporter for The Advocate. They did a grand job of articulating the significance of the program to what land owners were facing. It covered the whole myriad, the edge of the forestry land holdings, down to those lifestyles that had moved into that general headwater area, and then right down onto the catchment sort of lower levels where there's quite intense dairy farming happening, and it started to reveal itself on the value of having expressions of interest aligned with the first cut of a sediment reduction plan, giving not only kaipara maurikura, but the landowner and maurikura staff a clearer set of agreements on what could be possible in the context of that project. So yeah, I want to sort of leave my comments there for the moment, but I see Michelle has her hand up. Tēnā koe, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Tame. I was just wondering, when you're talking about the possible outcomes of this, is that, you know, worldwide there's a real movement about Indigenous knowledge and practices and how that can be used to restore, you know, the environment and things like that. And I'm wondering if one of the outcomes from this could actually be like a knowledge kete kind of thing, where you're producing a record of what the practices are around the kaipara, and whether they, you know, because yeah, there's trying to get that out to community and things as well, and valuing that, and making sure that hapu and marae are feeling valued in the contribution they have towards the environment too. And so I wonder if one of the outcomes here could actually be that you become like a knowledge basket of where people can come and they can see how the practices around the kaipara are actually improving, the area and the environment. I brought to mind, I saw recently online on Facebook, Rangatahi Ora do a really great, and it was really simple, but they had like a different waranga series of kai gathering and growing and all that kind of thing, and they had a great Facebook sort of record of this, of each day, and their tikanga that was involved and everything as well. And I wonder, if it's that kind of thing, that the value of what happens on the ground every day in Indigenous practices and how it has that relationship to the environment might be recorded through this project. Yeah.
Sure, Michelle.
Okay, someone's got their hand up. Is that me? Oh, Taiapio. Tēnā koe, Taiapio.
Kia ora koutou. I was just wanting to echo Michelle's comments about hopefully having some kind of database or info sharing system that this kind of goes into, recognising that the KMR isn't statutory and there's no legal obligation for landowners to fulfil that. And I was thinking about other tools that are statutory and have more kind of legislative teeth, such as the district plan, and whether some of the information that you capture, such as mātauranga, kōrero tuku iho, and specifically landscapes that are relevant, how those could get another layer of protection so that there's a multiple tool approach to, achieving the objectives here. And that's more, politically, that's another conversation. But however, just talking about us in terms of kōrero tuku iho and how we can use the many tools in the toolbox that are available to us to achieve things, so that, for example, if the government decides that KMR is no longer useful and ends the project, we don't lose everything that's been worked towards. Yeah, that's my comments on that.
Kia ora, Tawhia.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that point.
Can I just add to that? If we are going to subscribe to that line of thinking, then we should shut up shop now. The deal with the Crown is that there is a piece of legislation called a treaty settlement that will give this regulatory traction.
Yeah.
And we are a joint committee while the Crown is still going through its machinations to create the kaipara moana body, for want of a better name, which will be legislated with the Y303 deed of settlement. So that gives it the regulatory cover, if you like. And what the Crown is considering now is how much of the existing regulatory functions and powers, how much of that can be transferred to the proposed kaipara moana body. So I think the idea is a commendable one, where we continue to collate, to log, and to ensure that the integrity of the information gathered, whether it's kōrero tuku iho or techniques on reducing sediment that have emanated out of observation or local sort of applications at a landowner level, all in the same basket, and creating an option to retain the integrity of that kind of information. I think that's where this is all heading, but we're not sort of in any difficulty around the program being closed up because the government has another preference. We have actually got an MOU with the Crown that is supported with a separate document called a deed of funding, and that has allowed the continuation of discussions with the Crown over the the future of a regulatory body called, for want of a better term, the Kaipara Moana body, still in its infancy. Kia ora tātou, and can I just go to Justine first?
Kia ora everyone, apologies for a second bite at the cherry, but I just also wanted to reassure people, and Celia and Willie might jump in to confirm, but it was a very interesting discussion around Mātauranga Māori and some of the Indigenous practices and the recording and collating. So I just wanted to invite the Joint Committee members to just perhaps have a look. It's lost in the vast appendices, but in the terms of reference for the Koro Tuku Iho reference rōpū, there's a section on 7.2 around intellectual cultural property, and I just wanted to call out, or perhaps if I just read it, it will help. This project will assist in the repatriation and reconnection of traditional knowledge to Kaipara Uri, and you know, the project will act as a repository and a safe, if you like, kaitiaki of that for everyone's use. And there's more text there that I just invite you to have a look at. But also any reports and knowledge systems, or kete, I like Michelle's phrase around that, that are produced through this project are always in line with KMR MOU settings, co-owned by all of the organisations, the entities that have signed the MOU, including Kaipara Uri, of course, but also including the two councils involved. So that's quite an important function, coming back to the discussion, which is very valuable around outcomes and what are we trying to achieve. It is much broader than the sediment remediation activities. Of course, it needs to be aligned, but there will be, we could perhaps work together through the Korotoku project group to find little intervention logic that supports and aligns to our 4 investment objectives set by the Crown and agreed to through the MOU. So we in the Mōrikura can help that next stage, subject to Joint Committee approval to proceed. We can support the Korotoku project team to perhaps make that more explicit and give the governors the confidence and clarity around those points that were very well made today. Kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora, Justine.
Tēnā koe. Michelle?
Yeah, I was kind of, when we've been talking about, you know, having to, I guess, strengthen the role in regards to government and things like that, it also, though, brought to mind for me that a lot of this, what you're trying to achieve, is actually empowering communities and empowering, you know, people out there and the different marae and what have you, and I guess just to not lose focus of the fact that actually the long-term, I guess, impact of this is better carried with the people than it is with the government. You know, that the education and that goes out on a social level, you know, eventually will impact how people think about things in the future and what they value. And so that's actually where the big change will actually happen, rather than being too concerned about whoever's governing at the time.
Yeah, I think the missing element here is the choices and the discussion that went on to adopt the term Kaipara Uri. It is for that very point, Michelle, that you can have all this communal sort of, you know, people holding hands and singing Kumbaya, but ultimately you got to bring it down to the individual and their circle of influence. And in the context of what was discussed and the formation and the submission of that business case revolved around the common denominator of where the Uri sat and where they were located relative to the headwaters of the catchments. And again, it's the same comment when it, you know, when there's a apparent shift from what I read to a group now called Tangata Whenua. It is a sort of unintended. I appreciate that, but unless you're sort of living and breathing and carrying responsibilities and obligations to places of significance, you call them murupa, you can call them wahitapu, you can call them archaeological sites, or you can call them a dairy farm. If you're located inside the catchment or inside the headwaters of a catchment, only those that are connected that way can realize and articulate the impact that other decisions happening around them are making on the integrity of that detail, on the integrity of that legacy, on the integrity of that future. And of course, this is the sort of background to what I believe Kōrero Tukuiho was trying to achieve, and with fine-tuning, aligning it with the policies of how we've done things since we drew up and signed off the Memorandum of Understanding and have arrived at a deed of funding, and are now at a point where we have to be thinking about this beyond the 6-year term. We technically only had 2 more years of the lifespan of that MOU, and we have to consider how KMR, or how the Kaipara Moana body, is going to function towards the end of the term of this current government, simply because the basis of all of that is built around that MOU that we've struck with them, and hopefully we'll have a deed of settlement to put in front of the Crown to reshape that into giving the traction and the mechanisms for that kaipara, the proposed Kaipara Moana body, to function. That's the sort of longer version, and realise that there's a lot in that. I just wondered if we are in a position to perhaps draw some kind of agreement where further work in detail should be ironed out with Kaipara Maurikura, Wiramu and Celia on the points that have been raised today, and let's set this particular project, give it some priority, and whether we convene a special online consideration of the reviewed or the refined details, and make our considerations at that point. I think, in fairness to the level of discussions and detail that have been provided here, I think my recommendation to the Joint Committee is that we receive the information as tabled, and that there is a set of questions and a number of matters that have been raised through these discussions that ought to be finalised and progressed with Kaipara Maurikura. Upon an agreement with Kaipara Maurikura and the Kōrero Tukuiho proponents, we should be able to convene a special virtual link to finalise a position on Kōrero Tukuiho. Any further discussions?
Kia ora, Tame. If you need a seconder for that motion to let it lay on the table, I'm happy to second that. I'm not sure what's needed procedurally. Kia ora.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Any discussion? Any further discussions? And please, Justine, we're going to rely on yourself and your team to shape how that should be documented. But I think essentially it is what Amy is saying, is that there is further work required in the context of refining what it is, and having confirmed alignment with Kōrero Tukui, who as the joint committee has come to understand, and given the points that have been raised throughout the discussions this morning.
Very happy to help with that. No problems.
Okay.
Kia ora.
If there's no further discussion or no further comments, can I put that motion? All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
objections?
Aye, tautoko.
Okay, any objections? Any abstentions? And Virginia, don't feel compelled to abstain or anything like that. As far as we're concerned, this is a joint committee matter, and we have heard and we have noted your involvement in it. Hey te pai.
Yeah, and we haven't been paid yet, so it's all right. So I'm good. We just keep working, Tammy.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so thank you very much, one and all, and Willie, Celia,
Kia ora, Tammy.
keep up the good work, and keep it's like getting this is a leading edge project. So we've got the cutting edge, but we want to lead the edge out. We need to refine just where the rubber hits the road just a little bit more. It's not we're not quite down to shaving with the blade yet. It's sort of sharp enough. We'll cut your finger, but we need to get it really, really at the leading edge. So, ka pai.
Could I just make one more comment, Tammy, please?
Tēnā koe.
Through you, as the chair. Justine, when you do have that meeting, can I please join as well, Willie?
Yeah,
Celia?
I've got no more meets.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, no problems.
No, we'll try and have the meeting as quickly as possible.
Kia ora.
Ka pai. Tēnā koe, Michelle.
I'm just picking up on Virginia's comment about not being paid yet. Or is there no mechanism to be able to pay the members that are working on this task?
No, I just haven't put in any invoices, Michelle. We're just trying to get it all going, and happy to do that too. But it's there. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm happy to be flexible ahead of that, because I don't think the rates are in doubt. They align to KMR rates, but my sense is we're not too far away from the changes needed to bring this back. So I'm open-minded either way.
Sure.
Yeah, following the comments on the chat there. Yeah, future proofing, vermin proofing, idiot proofing, all of those proofing steps are very necessary, because apart from the right in the future, and we've got a few of them at home. Some of them are invasive, some of them are native, or they speak like they're native. But they all come into that category of how do we waterproof this kaupapa. Anyway, I think that's pretty much the end of our agenda as far as I can gather. And really want to thank you one and all. Great turnout. Thank you for all the contributions. Wish everyone all the best for our endeavours that lay ahead. And I'm looking forward to the school holidays. Any further matters, Justine, from
Just wanted to say thanks to all the governors for being so supportive, and thanks to Willie and Celia, of course, and also the reference for but otherwise thank you for your very good inputs today. We always appreciate your honesty, but also your constructive way forward, so we appreciate that. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thanks for Olivia. Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Mai, there are no further matters for discussion or consideration, and everyone is done with today's agenda. Also add my acknowledgement of everyone's contribution today. It is definitely it is that little crack and little ray of sunshine coming through the sediment, and it's quite uplifting. I hope to be able to provide you some photographic evidence, Jack and John and Amy, of how we convinced the contractors engaged to look after vegetation for Waka Kotahi to start tidying up some of the road reserves on the Mangatahi River. And with KMR's help, I think it can sort of form a pretty strong case of just reorganizing the way a lot of that is structured. And I called in there to have a look, see how they're getting on, and they're probably another 3 days away from having it ready for planting, and we hope to be able to celebrate that with a community and sort of landowner day to plant it out. About 3,500 plants for the first plant out, and want to get that detail and photographic evidence with the help of Griffin and Lizette around the governance members, because when you think about road reserves in the Kaipara catchment, in the proximity of our river system, there must be a few more of them that are should be included as well. But we've managed that so far, and not without its trials and tribulations of some of those proofing characters that we want to keep out of the way. Somebody suggested we should put a predator-proof fence around the whole place so the idiots won't interfere with its future. However, on that note, I want to thank you one and all for your contributions today, and look forward to hearing of our special meeting to consider the Kōrero Tukuiho project, and hopefully see those that are available at Minister Hogarth's field visit or site visit.
Yes, more details to come when that's confirmed. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So on that note, I'd like to close our meeting with a karaki. Kia tau no kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou ariki ai Ukraiti. Me te whiwhi ngātahi ki te wairua tāwhu mo ake, amine. Kia ora tātou.
Amine.
Amine. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Ora.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.